of sense, she wore a parachute, but she refused to ditch her plane unless it was a last resort. She'd worked too hard to own it to see it disappear at the bottom of the Gulf. Throughout her training to become a pilot, it had been drilled into her head that in case of emergency, to first aviate, then navigate, and lastly, communicate. She reduced power and then turned the plane toward the airport before radioing the control tower at Pensacola International. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Pensacola Center. November 3-1 Golf Hotel declaring an emergency. November 3-1 Golf Hotel, Pensacola Center. State position and emergency. A calm voice answered. Center, I'm 2.3 miles southeast of Santa Rosa Sound. Losing oil pressure and engine temperatures rising. Request you call Pensacola Aviation Center to advise I will be making an emergency landing. There was a pause before the controller responded. She could have called her FBO herself, but it was faster to contact air traffic control than to dial up the frequency for her fixed base operator, her home base, and she didn't want to divert her attention from what was going on with her plane. November 3-1 Golf Hotel, Pensacola Aviation Center notified. You are cleared for a direct approach. Thank you. November 3-1 Golf Hotel, over and out. Good luck. Thanks, she whispered. A part of her wanted to keep talking, to keep contact with the voice on the other end of the radio, but getting her plane home would require all her attention. You can do this, Charlie. Swear to God you can. She patted the Citabria's dash. Come on, baby. Let's get you back to the barn and see what ails you. After a quick scan of the next item on the list, she lowered the nose slightly to increase airspeed. The oil pressure gauge needle was almost flat now, and she knew she had to land on her first try. She breathed a sigh of relief when she sighted the runway. The operations manager, David, stood outside, watching her through binoculars. A fire truck and the line crew guys were positioned alongside the runway. She hoped to God the fire truck wouldn't be needed, but she was glad to see it there. As she aligned the nose of the plane with the middle of the runway, the engine quit. Shit! Yelling and panicking wouldn't get her safely on the ground, so she shut everything out of her mind but the feel of her plane and the runway in front of her. An icy calm settled over her as she ticked off the remaining emergency landing procedures. She raised her flaps to increase her glide range, then flipped off all the switches. Estimating her airspeed and the distance to the runway, her heart almost seized. She wasn't going to make it to the asphalt. You don't mind a nice soft grass landing, do you, baby? Slightly lifting the nose to get some wind under her, Charlie willed the Citabria to do the impossible. As she'd done everything she could except land, she pulled her seat harness tight, then visualized herself bringing the aircraft down on the field in front of the runway. If she hit any holes or ruts, it was entirely possible the plane would cartwheel. Definitely not how she wanted to start her morning. The next few minutes seemed like forever, but each time her mind tried to examine her life and the mistakes she'd made, she shut it down. Not the time to dwell on regrets. No tricks for this one, baby, you hear? Suddenly the airport's windsock changed direction, indicating she had a tailwind. She made the pitch adjustment required to maintain the proper airspeed. Elation coursed through her when she realized the tailwind was just enough to push the Citabria to the edge of the runway. Yes, baby, yes! She victory yelled when the wheels touched down on the asphalt. Mama loves you! Once the plane rolled to a stop, Charlie sat for a moment in an attempt to calm her pounding heart. Funny how it waited until she was safe on the ground before taking off like a greyhound's after crossing the finish line. She held her hands in front of her face and willed them to stop shaking, but they were determined to impersonate a wet dog after a bath. The door flew open, and David poked his head in. You okay? All she could do was nod as he reached in and released her harness. She grabbed his arm and climbed out of the plane, not letting go of him when her feet hit the pavement because her legs refused to support her without help.